In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a one-page parallax website. I'll show you how to add each image layer by layer, and then I'll show you how to make each image layer move to create the parallax effect. We'll also make sure that our website is responsive on both mobile and tablet devices. Now, before we get started, I want to point out that if you want to follow along, you can download the images by following the links in the description below. Also, I wanted to clarify that the tool that I'll be using to do this is called Elementor Pro. It is a paid tool that costs $49 US per year, but it allows you to create effects just like this without any coding. Just drag and drop. You can even add the parallax effect in a vertical scrolling fashion like this. In fact, if you wanted to do it this way, check out my other video in the description to find out how. And with that being said, let's get started. Alright, so this is my WordPress dashboard. Now the first thing we're going to do is add a new page. And then we're going to set the title to Moonlight Parallax. And then we'll set the template to be Elementor Canvas. And then we'll hit Edit with Elementor. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do here is add a new section with one column. Now for this section, I want to set the layout to have a content width of full width and a minimum height of 100 viewport height. Okay, let's head over to the column inside the section, select Advanced, and then set the padding of this column to be 0. Next, I want to add an image inside the column. So we'll go and select the elements icon here and select Image, and then drag it over onto the column. And then we'll choose the image to be the background image. Set the image size to be full, and then we'll head over to the Advanced tab. Then we'll set the positioning to be absolute, and then set the vertical orientation offset to be about negative 1000 pixels for now. Alright, and then let's rename this image layer to BG for background. Next, we'll duplicate this image and then change the image to be the moon. And then rename it to moon. Duplicate this. Change it to the tree's background image. And then rename. And then we'll duplicate this as well. Change the image to the tree's middle image. Rename. Duplicate this as well. And then change it to the foreground image with the deer. Okay, now we'll rename this as well to FG for foreground. Alright, now let's go ahead and preview this and see how it looks like on the browser. Cool. Nothing too flashy at the moment. As you can see, there's no parallax effect right now. So what we'll do is we'll add some motion effects to this, in particular some mouse tracking effects, so that the images move in response to mouse movements. So let's go back to our editor. Now the first image layer that we want to add motion effects to is the tree's background. So we'll select that and then go to Advanced tab, select the motion effects, mouse track, and set the direction to be the default, which is opposite, so that the image will move in the opposite direction to the mouse movement. And we'll set the speed to be 1.5. Okay. So as you can see, when we hover over our images now, you can see the tree's background image moving in the opposite direction of my mouse. Now we'll do the same thing to the tree's middle layer. Go to the Advanced tab, Motion Effects, Mouse Track, keeping it in the opposite direction, but we'll set the speed to be 3. Now I want this image to move a little faster than the previous image because it appears closer to us, closer to the viewer. Now this adds depth and a 3D feel, which is key to making a parallax effect work a lot better. Right, so the next one we want to affect is the foreground. So we'll go to the Advanced tab, Motion Effects, Mouse Track, and set the speed of the mouse track to be a lot quicker. So set that to 5. So if we look at this now, it's looking a lot better. You can see there's that nice parallax feel. Alright, let's go ahead and preview this and see how it looks on the browser. Cool, that's looking a lot better now. You can see the parallax effect working really well now. The only thing I don't like here is as we move closer to the edge of the window, the edges of the images are being exposed. And we don't want this, so in order to fix this, what I'm going to do is we're actually going to make these images a lot bigger than they are, so that we're actually zoomed in to view, so that as we move towards the edges, there's more room to play and less likely that the edges of the images will be exposed. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's first select the tree's background image, and then we'll go to Style, set the maximum width to be 150%, and the width to be 150% as well. We'll do the same to the tree's middle, 150%, and to the foreground as well. And then we'll actually do the same for the background and the moon images as well. Do the same for the moon. Okay, so let's go ahead and preview this. Okay, this is looking a lot better, except the images are actually offset. I want the main focus as we load the image to be the deer, to be around this point here. So I want this to be the initial focus. So what we're going to do is we're going to offset these images so that when we load the page, that's the first thing that we'll see. So the first thing we'll do is we'll select the tree's background image, go to Advanced, Positioning, and then we'll set the horizontal offset to be around about 451. And then let's change this to negative 2100. Alright. Next, we'll do the same for the tree's middle layer. Positioning, negative 451, negative 2100. Okay. Same for the foreground. Position, negative 451, negative 2100. Alright, so let's preview this now, see how it looks. That is a lot better now, but we can't see the moon at the moment. So let's go ahead and select the moon and set the positioning to be -415 and the vertical offset of -1900. Cool. Alright, let's preview this now. Awesome. That's looking a lot better. Now, as you can see, I can actually still scroll on this page. I don't want to do that. I want to keep the main view just on this section here and restrict scrolling vertically and horizontally. Alright, so in order to do this, what we need to do is we need to head back over to the editor, select the section that contains all the images, and select the overflow to be hidden. Alright, so let's go ahead and preview this and see how it looks. Alright, so let's see if we can scroll now. Oh, we can't scroll anymore, which is awesome. That looks absolutely awesome. What do you guys think? I want to add one final touch to this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of blur to the background image. So I'm going to select trees background, motion effects, and then set scrolling effects, blur, and set that to a level 7. You can see that nice blur there. Even though we don't have any scrolling effects, we can still add some blur to the image and give it that nice depth, that nice 3D feel. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do something similar to this trees middle layer as well, but I don't want to add as much blur. I want to add just a little bit of blur. So let's add scrolling effects to the trees middle image and set the blur to be around about the level 3. Yeah, that looks just about right. Let's preview this. Brilliant, that looks absolutely awesome. You can see that it gives that illusion that the further an object is, the less focus it has, adding to the illusion of depth. Nice. What do you guys think? Okay, one other thing I wanted to change was the moon and the background positioning. Since these two images don't actually move, we don't want them to be absolute, we want them to be fixed. So let's go ahead and go back to the editor, select background, positioning, and set the position to be fixed. Okay, let's do the same for the moon. And then let's just readjust the horizontal and vertical offsets so that it reappears into our view. Awesome. And then just make sure that this still looks okay on our preview. Awesome. Now the next thing we want to do is to check whether this website is responsive on mobile and tablet devices. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So at the moment, you can see the images are quite offset on a tablet, for example the iPad Pro. And for an iPhone X, for example, they're also offset. This is because they are still using the horizontal and vertical offsets that we've used for the desktop version. So what we'll do now is we'll change these horizontal and vertical offsets for the mobile and tablet versions. So let's go back to our editor. We'll head down to responsive mode here. And we'll firstly look at the tablet device. So what we'll do is we'll adjust each of the image's horizontal and vertical offsets so that they are in view in tablet and mobile devices. So the first one we're going to look at is the background. So let's just readjust this so that it is centered on our tablet. Let's enter a value of 0 and negative 234. Alright. Let's look at the moon and do the same thing. We'll set the horizontal offset to be negative 180 and the vertical offset to be negative 153. Alright. Next one is the tree's background. Go to the positioning, set the horizontal offset to be negative 351 and the vertical offset to be negative 1050. Select tree's middle, positioning, set this to be negative 153. Vertical orientation offset to be negative 1040. And then for the foreground, set the horizontal offset to be negative 387. Vertical offset to be negative 1000. Okay. Let's go ahead and preview this now for the tablet device. Let's take a look at the iPad Pro. It's looking okay, except when you move to the edge of the iPad, you can see the edge of the foreground image appearing. We don't want this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something similar to what we did earlier, where we increase the size of the image so that there's more room for the image to move and less likely for the edges to appear in cases like this. So let's go back to our editor and set the foreground style max width to be 200% and the width to be 200% as well. Let's do the same for the tree's middle. And the tree's background images. And then let's preview this now. And then we'll look at iPad Pro. So the images now are looking a lot better. So we head to the edges of the iPad. We don't see that anomaly where the edges of the images begin to appear. Let's look at it on a mobile device. Okay, so we still need to fix this. So let's go back to our editor. We'll switch over to mobile device and then we'll do the same thing by readjusting the image horizontal and vertical offsets. So let's start with the background image. We'll go to the Advanced tab, Positioning, and set the background to have a negative 27 horizontal offset and negative 63 vertical offset. And then we'll select the moon. This will have negative 72 horizontal offset and a negative 27 vertical offset. And then we'll go to tree's background image, advanced positioning, set the horizontal offset to be negative 288 and the vertical offset to be negative 613. The tree's middle, we're going to set the vertical offset to be, the horizontal offset to be just blank, and then the vertical offset to be negative 613, and then the foreground to have a horizontal offset of negative 261 and the vertical offset of negative 919. Okay, let's go ahead and preview this now and see how it looks on the mobile device. Look, it's not bad, it's not perfect either. You can see the same anomaly here. What we want to do is we want to increase the foreground image at the very least, because the background images don't have the same anomaly with the edges appearing as we move towards the edge of the iPhone. So let's go back to our editor. And we'll set the style max width of the foreground image to be 300. So let's view this again on the iPad. Sorry, on the iPhone X. This looks a lot better than what we had initially, but it's not perfect. However, mouse tracking is actually not supported on mobile and tablet devices, simply because we don't have a mouse. And I'm only getting this effect by clicking around the website. In saying that though, we want our website to look nice on mobile and tablet devices, and this is the least that we can do. And that is to assign vertical and horizontal offsets so that at least the website is responsive on both tablet and mobile devices. Anyway, this is how the website looks on my iPhone 10. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos just like this, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.